Today we're gonna make a delicious lamb ragu. This one is really easy. It has very, very similar ingredients to that short rib ragu that we did a few weeks ago. And that one was really, really popular. These are just great recipes for the winter. So let's get into prepping all of those ingredients right now. This is really easy prep work for this one. All we needed was celery, carrot, onion. So I got about a cup of each. This doesn't have to be exact at all. It truly doesn't. We have rosemary. That's gonna give it a really nice flavor. I have 2 pounds of ground lamb here. In the written recipe that's on my site, and it will be on my site ready for printout already, I use lamb shoulder, bone-in lamb shoulder. So I cubed it, saved those bones. You could save them for a stock or something else. Use either one. Use the one that's cheaper that you can find. I got some Parmigiano Reggiano. Love it on this, but if you want to use Pecorino, by all means do it. This is a Cabernet Sauvignon Sangiovese. We only need a cup of it, so we're using about $3 worth of wine. We got rigatoni. By all means, use Pappardelle if you want. I love the way Pappardelle looks, but I can't keep using Pappardelle for every recipe. You can go expensive and you can use San Marzano plum tomatoes, whole plum tomatoes. You can hand crush them, or you can buy a can of Sclafani crushed for much cheaper. Get your oven set for a Dutch oven. So basically move the racks so the Dutch oven can fit in the middle of the oven and set it to 300 degrees Fahrenheit. Heat your pan to medium low right now. We're gonna do the veggies first. If you don't have one of these and you need to do it on the stovetop, you can absolutely do it that way. You're just gonna have to stir it very frequently so the bottom doesn't stick. All right, and we'll put some olive oil in here, a couple tablespoons. Let's add our onions. By the way, all this chopping you could just have put in a food processor. Make it very much easier. I had some guy or girl, I don't know, when I made another dish, they said you put the onions and the carrots and the celery in at the same time, it's ruined. You have to put the onions in first. You really think that's gonna ruin a dish? Trust me, it is absolutely not. You just wanna get all these veggies soft. In a minute, whatever, put the vegetables in. If we don't wanna put color on them, we can put a little salt in here that's gonna draw some of the water out of them to further prevent them from getting any color. It's been about 15 minutes. You can see how much softer everything is. You could go even longer, but for time's sake and everything else, I'm gonna move to the next step. I'm using 2 pounds of ground lamb. I might have a little bit more ragu by doing this than I need for 1 pound of pasta. That's okay, it'll be leftovers. Try to move it around and turn the heat up to medium. We're gonna get a little bit more heat on here. You're not gonna get a lot of color on it this way, and that's okay. You don't have to go crazy. What I am gonna do is I'm gonna season with salt and pepper. I'm gonna do 1 teaspoon of kosher salt or regular salt. A lot of you have asked me about that. I just say kosher salt out of habit. It's the salt I've been using forever. About a half teaspoon of pepper. We don't wanna over season now. We're putting in that beef stock. The flavors are gonna reduce, they're gonna condense. If you don't like lamb and you wanna make this dish, just use beef. Ground pork would be nice. You can follow the exact same recipe. The only thing you change is the type of meat. It's gonna take about 15 minutes to properly cook through this 2 pounds of meat. All right, so it's all cooked. I'm gonna turn down the heat right here. I just wanna point out there's a lot of fat in here. Maybe it's up 3/4 inches in the pot. When I did it the other day, the one that's on my site right now, when I used the lamb shoulder, not nearly as much fat. You can save this fat. You can make another dish with lamb with it. A lot of flavor here. If you decide to put this overnight in the fridge, which will give you the most flavor, all of the fat will come to the top, and it'll be like a puck, and you'll be able to just remove the whole entire thing. I have right here about 1 inch worth of the lamb fat. You can turn your heat down to about medium low, medium, it doesn't really matter. And what we're gonna do now is we're gonna add our tomato paste in. Try to break it up as best you can with your spoon. So that's cooked out for about 5 minutes. You can see how nice that looks. All right, paste is in there. I broke up the lamb meat as best I could. We're gonna put in wine. We're gonna do 1 cup of red wine. That's good. Mix this around and turn the heat up to about medium high. Gonna cook this wine out a little bit. We're gonna let it reduce in here. Take your wooden spoon and remove the brown bits. Okay, and that's good. We've reduced most of the wine. I'm gonna lower the heat down to medium low. I'm going to add that beef stock in, okay, right here. And then I'm gonna add the tomatoes. I have one 28-ounce can of these beautiful Sclafani tomatoes. You know, some people they'll tell you, oh, you can't use those tomatoes, you have to use passata. You can do whatever the heck you want. Don't ever let anybody tell you like, oh, that's not good because you didn't use this ingredient. Think about it. Like, would you ever do that to somebody? Would you go over somebody's house and be like, you know, you didn't use passata there, I'm leaving. I mean, maybe you do that. I don't know. Person's probably not gonna want you back. You gotta let people cook the way they want. If they cook you a horrible meal, you gotta eat it and you gotta smile. That's just how it is. I have some rosemary. Just to make it easier, I'm just gonna take them off, the leaves off. But you could throw it all in and you could fish it out after. I love rosemary with lamb. We did a leg of lamb last year with lots of garlic, herbs, rosemary, delicious. That's looking good. I'm gonna just knock everything around the sides, just get everything off the sides, turn the heat off, and then cover it and put this in the oven for 3 hours. You can check on this about halfway through. If you're losing too much liquid, say your lid's not tight enough or it's a little cracked, if you're evaporating too much, add a little bit of water in there or beef stock. Low sodium beef stock, that's what I used. You don't want to add a lot more sodium back to it. And not too much fat there. I think it's enough that I can have it. It's going to be really good. You can see it like that. All right, let's taste test it. Make sure there's enough salt and pepper in there. Delicious, enough salt, so flavorful. Honestly, I don't know which one's better, the ground lamb or the lamb shoulder that I used. Okay, water's boiling. 2 tablespoons of kosher salt, whatever. 14 minutes it says. This one takes a while to cook. You don't really have to worry about sticking with rigatoni, just give it a little bit of a stir. And while the pasta's cooking, let's just heat this ragu up on very low. It's still very hot from being in the Dutch oven. Medium low, you don't need a lot of heat here. Okay, you see the consistency on that? Very thick. Okay, so reduced, even though it was covered in the oven, it was 3 hours of cooking. The onion, the carrot, the celery, all kind of melted together. We'll start with about that much in there. We might have a little bit left over, and if you do, you have enough for maybe another half a pound of pasta or whatever, but we don't want to over sauce it. Just because we made this much, we don't need to use that much. Good, this is definitely very thick, so I'm gonna put some pasta water in here. That'll loosen it up a little bit. It's not quite al dente yet, which is fine. I'll finish it in here. Mix it together. And remember, we have plenty more of the ragu over here. I've got about medium to medium low. Basically, by cooking it in the sauce for the last 2 minutes or so, the pasta is gonna absorb the flavors of the ragu. You really wanna cook it in there, and we need more. We don't have enough. Here we go, put more on, and that's what's great, you know? You make enough, and you even have more over there if anybody wants to put a lot more, if they wanna drown it when you're serving it. Oh, so good. Needs a couple more minutes though. It's a little too hard right now. That's fine, you finish it in here. If you start to get a little dry, just take a little bit more pasta water, you'll be fine. You had this the other day, right? Different lamb this time. Ground lamb instead of the whole pieces.
Very good.
Give me
The last one?
the honest truth.
Yeah, I like both of them, but
Yeah.
I think this one is better.
You do? This one has more fat in it. Oh, I had to take a lot of the fat out. I probably took 3/8 of a cup of fat out of it. So just keep that in mind when you make it. Thank you, Chris W, for being a producer. I really appreciate it. And thank you to all the other Patreon supporters. Let me tell you, that's amazing too. I don't know which one's better.